Have you ever felt like people target you, not because you're weak, but because you haven't yet realized how powerful you truly are? They didn't pick you because you're broken. They picked you because your kindness is loud, your loyalty unwavering, and your silence too easy to mistake for surrender. But here's the truth. No one told you. They didn't break you. They revealed the cracks you need to seal, the armor you now know where to build. You're not a victim. You're waking up. You were the soft spot in a world that preys on softness. But from today forward, you're no longer the hunted. You are the mirror they'll avoid, because you'll start reflecting back the game they used to play. Welcome to your shift. From prey to presence. From invisible to untouchable. Let's call it what it is. You've been played, used, taken advantage of, not because you're foolish, but because you loved without caution, gave without limits, and trusted without question. But this ends here. In this video, we're breaking it down 7 reasons why people thought they could get away with it, and 7 Stoic countermoves that will make them think twice before they ever try again. No rage, no drama, just cold clarity. Because Stoicism doesn't teach you to explode, it teaches you to become unshakable. You don't fight noise with more noise. You win by becoming the quiet storm they never see coming. The people who played you, they weren't stronger. They were simply louder until now. You're not here to beg. You're not here to explain. You're here to rise. And when you do it right, they won't even get the privilege of watching you. Let's begin. There's a reason they keep crossing the line. It's because you haven't drawn one. People don't guess where your limits are. They test. They probe. They press. Until they find the exact edge of what you'll tolerate. And if you never say, stop, they'll assume keep going. Here's the harsh truth. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you allow. Pause. Think of your life like a home with no gate, no locks, no signs, warm lights on, door wide open. People stroll in. Some stay too long. Some rearrange the furniture. Some leave muddy footprints. Not because they're evil, but because you didn't say otherwise. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are doors with locks, meant to protect what's sacred. When you don't set boundaries, you teach people that your peace is negotiable, that your time is disposable, that your kindness has no edges. But when you draw the line not with anger, not with revenge, but with calm clarity, you stop being a convenience. You become a force. Maybe you thought that saying yes made you kind, that always being available made you good, that bending made you lovable. But kindness without limits isn't compassion. It's collapse. It's quiet exhaustion pretending to be peace. And that version of you, the one who stayed silent to avoid rejection, they're not here anymore. Now you speak the language of stillness. You say no without guilt. You say yes only when you mean it. You protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Stoic wisdom teaches you own nothing if you can't protect it. And that includes your time, your space, your peace. So draw the line. And when they question it, don't explain. When they push it, don't fold. Because if someone leaves because you finally chose to protect yourself, they were never meant to stay. Let them go. Let the door close. And never apologize for choosing yourself. You didn't change. You just stopped letting them write the rules. Trust is a beautiful thing, but in the wrong hands, it becomes ammunition. You thought you were opening your heart. They saw it as an opportunity to take, to twist, to test the limits of your generosity. You believed they cared. They cared just enough to get what they wanted. And when it was no longer convenient, they vanished. Here's the danger. When you trust too fast, you don't share. You surrender. Being open is not a weakness, but opening too soon to the wrong people is handing over the keys to your peace. You gave them the combination to your safe before they ever proved they'd protect what's inside. And now they weaponize your openness, using your vulnerability as leverage, as a test, as a mirror to their own manipulation. Openness is not the absence of locks. It's the wisdom of selective access. Not everyone deserves a backstage pass to your soul. Some only belong in the audience. Let time be the filter. Let patterns do the talking. Anyone can speak beautiful words, but only consistency proves character. Imagine this. You hand someone a key. They've never fixed a lock, never built a door. They've never even earned your trust. And when they walk away, you blame yourself for letting them in. But it wasn't your fault they left. It was your lesson to stop giving keys to people who don't knock. You stop apologizing for building stronger doors. You stop justifying why you don't let everyone in. And most importantly, you stop calling it guarded when it's really just wisdom earned from pain. Don't judge by words. Judge by behavior. Words lead. Patterns don't. You don't need to close your heart. You need to fortify the gate. From now on, let them earn it. Let silence do the screening. Let distance reveal character. And let your past pain teach you one powerful truth. Not everyone who knocks deserves a welcome. Some only came to rob the peace you worked so hard to build. And when you learn that, you stop being the easy target and start becoming the immovable force. Every time you ignore a red flag, you sign a silent contract to hurt yourself later. It doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with a moment when something feels off, but you smile through it. When they show you who they are, but you rewrite the script. You wanted to believe in their potential, in the story you built around them, not in the truth they revealed with their actions. Red flags are not signs of destruction. They're your early warning system. They're not meant to ruin a good thing. They're there to protect your peace before the damage becomes permanent. But here's what happens when you look away. They learn exactly what you'll tolerate. They start hiding behind your hope, your silence, your willingness to believe. Maybe it'll change. You become the co-author of your own erosion. You don't just get betrayed by them. You get betrayed by the version of yourself that refused to see clearly. Here's the Stoic truth. Pain doesn't come from betrayal. It comes from betraying your own knowing, from seeing the signs and staying anyway. The Stoics taught, it's not the event that hurts you, it's your judgment of it. You judged their red flags as fixable. You turned manipulation into miscommunication. You turned patterns into bad days. And you stayed because leaving meant facing the grief of what this person would never become. But guess what? The grief of walking away is real, but it's honest. The pain of staying is longer and it's quiet. It doesn't scream, it whispers, slowly draining you, day after day. So how do you stop? You stop romanticizing potential. You stop calling pain patience. You stop thinking your love will heal someone who doesn't even admit they're bleeding. You don't need to hate them. You just need to believe yourself. The first time you feel uneasy, don't wait for evidence. Your intuition is already the proof. Next time a red flag appears, treat it like a guardian, not an inconvenience. It's not ruining something good. It's protecting something sacred. You're not being too harsh. You're being honest. You're not giving up too soon. You're giving up on self-destruction. From now on, the red flag isn't the problem. Ignoring it is. And when you finally choose to listen, you don't lose people. You lose illusions. And that's not a loss. It's the beginning of peace. Your silence doesn't bring peace. It brings permission. Every time you swallow your discomfort, every time you avoid the hard conversation, you're not keeping the peace. You're feeding the problem. They don't think, wow, this person is so understanding. They think, I can keep doing this because nothing's stopping me. Avoiding confrontation doesn't make you kind. It makes you invisible to others and, eventually, to yourself. Picture this. Weeds in a garden don't care if you dislike them. They don't stop growing because you silently wish they'd go away. They only stop when you dig deep, pull them up by the roots, and say, not here, not anymore. That's what calm confrontation is. It's not yelling. It's not drama. It's not disrespect. It's a line drawn in quiet strength. Stoic philosophy says this: peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of clarity. When you confront someone with honesty, with calm, with purpose, you're not attacking. You're protecting your time, your energy, your dignity. Because when you say nothing, you teach them they can say everything. They can lie, blame, dismiss, take, and walk away clean. But the moment you speak up, even once the air changes, they feel resistance. Not aggression, but gravity. You're not a doormat. You're a wall. And here's the twist. Most people who cross your boundaries aren't evil. They're opportunists. They keep pushing until they meet someone who pushes back. Let that someone be you. You don't need to be loud. You just need to be clear. You don't need to argue. You just need to stop apologizing for needing respect. So the next time you feel your chest tighten, your jaw clench, your spirit fold, don't retreat. Respond with calm, with precision, with dignity. Let them know, I see what you're doing. And it stops here. That's not confrontation. That's self-respect in motion. And when you practice that kind of calm strength, they stop playing games because you stopped playing along. When praise becomes your oxygen, anyone holding a compliment controls your breath. You don't even see it happening. One moment, you're just hoping they'll notice your effort. The next, you're addicted to their approval. Their silence makes you spiral. Their praise lifts you higher than it should. And suddenly, you're not living, you're performing. Validation isn't wrong, but chasing it, that's how you give someone the remote control to your self-worth. They smile, you're up. They withdraw you. Doubt yourself. They say, "Good job, you feel whole." They say nothing, "You're in pieces." It's not affection, it's addiction. And if they know you're chasing their approval, they don't have to control you with cruelty. They control you with crumbs. They'll give you just enough a like, a nod, a compliment once every few weeks to keep you coming back. Not out of care, but out of strategy. Because if someone knows you rely on them to feel enough, they own you. That's not love. That's a leash. So what does the Stoic say? Stop chasing outside applause. Let the silence of your soul clap for you instead. You cleaned your space today. Celebrate it inward. You didn't lose your temper when provoked. Stand tall, no one has to see it for it to count. You made progress that nobody clapped for good. That means it was real, not a performance. Validation that comes from within is untouchable, and that makes you untouchable. Because when people realize they can't lure you with flattery, can't punish you with silence, can't bait you with attention, they lose their leverage. And that's when you gain your freedom. Imagine this. You're no longer the puppet dancing for a reaction. You're the calm observer, unbothered, unshaken, unmoved. You're not fishing for likes. You're anchored in worth. You're not scanning for approval. You're radiating certainty. So next time you feel the itch to impress, to post, to prove, ask yourself, who am I trying to convince? And then remind yourself, I don't need applause to know I'm enough. Let your peace be your proof. Let your consistency be your evidence. And let your stillness be louder than their praise could ever be. Let's be honest. You didn't stay because it was good. You stayed because the silence scared you more than the damage. That's the trap. The fear of loneliness makes you cling to people who empty you. You tell yourself it's better than nothing, but what you're really saying is, I'd rather bleed than sit in quiet. But what if I told you it's not the silence that hurts you? It's the way you run from it. Think of this. You're sitting at a table, and across from you is someone who mocks your dreams, ignores your needs, or treats you like a placeholder. But hey, at least you're not alone. Right. That isn't connection. That's slow erosion of your dignity, of your peace, of your identity. It's like choosing to sit in smoke because you're afraid of the clean, open air. Here's the truth. Being alone isn't dangerous. Being with the wrong person is. And yet, people stay. Not because it's love, but because it's company, because the thought of walking through life without noise feels heavier than carrying someone else's poison. But listen carefully, the Stoics had a different vision. They saw solitude as sacred, not a void, but a mirror, where your real voice isn't drowned out by demands, drama, or desperation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And that is the retreat you've been avoiding. Because when you're alone, you hear what needs healing. You face what you've been avoiding. And yes, that can be uncomfortable, but it's also where transformation begins. Solitude isn't absence. It's presence. It's where you finally stop begging to be seen and start seeing yourself. It's where your boundaries reset, where your clarity sharpens, where your standards rise. Don't confuse stillness with lack. Don't confuse peace with punishment. Because when you finally stop fearing your own company, you stop accepting companionship that costs you your spirit. So here's your challenge. Sit alone. Walk alone. Heal alone. Until being alone feels like home. Because once it does, you'll never again stay with someone just because you're scared of the dark. You'll look at the silence and say, "This is mine. This is where I rebuild." And the next time someone walks out, you won't chase. You won't beg. You'll simply close the door because you've made peace your new standard. At first, it feels noble. You're the helper, the listener, the one who's always there. You give your time, your energy, your heart without asking for anything in return. And they love that. They love how available you are, how you never say no, how you always show up, even when no one's showing up for you. But over time, something shifts. Your generosity becomes expected. Your silence becomes assumed consent. And your kindness turns into currency they never intend to repay. You see, when you keep giving without boundaries, people stop seeing it as a gift and start treating it like a given. And here's the brutal truth. The more you give without receiving, the more invisible you become. They don't say thank you. They don't ask, "How are you holding up?" They just take and take until there's nothing left but your exhaustion. You think you're being kind, but really you're being erased. And before you realize it, you're drained, resentful, alone. But you know what's even worse? You're still explaining yourself, still justifying why you're saying no, as if protecting your energy is a crime. Let's clear that up right now. Saying no is not cruel. It's intelligent. It's spiritual. It's necessary. Kindness without clarity becomes chaos. Think of a river powerful, steady, life-giving, but when it overflows, it floods. It drowns the very land. It was meant to nourish your love, your attention, your support. They must have banks, boundaries, structure. Stoic wisdom reminds us, give from your overflow, never from your survival. Give from fullness, from joy, from alignment, not guilt, not obligation, not the desperate hope that if you give enough, they'll finally treat you right. Because here's the harsh reality. If someone only loves what you give, they don't love you. And the moment you stop performing, they vanish. Let them walk away when the free ride ends. That exit is your liberation. Start observing. Who checks on you? Without needing anything, who gives? Even when you don't ask, who sees your no as a boundary, not a betrayal? These are your people. The rest, they were never on your team. They were just in your audience clapping when it benefited them. So, here's your new rule. Stop over-explaining. Start conserving. Don't apologize for needing restoration. You are not endless. You are not here to be drained. You are here to shine boldly, sustainably, and with purpose. And anyone who doesn't respect that, let your silence be their answer. Because the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Every abusive pattern has one thing in common. It depends on your silence, your hesitation, your second chances, your over-explaining, hoping they'll understand. That is what gives them permission, but not anymore. Because now, you see it, not as betrayal, but as exposure, not as rejection, but as redirection. They didn't outsmart you. You just stopped playing their game. You stopped justifying your kindness. You stopped accepting crumbs and calling it loyalty. You stopped needing anyone's validation to feel whole. And that shift, that moment you chose self-respect over approval, is the moment they lost their grip. You are not their lesson. You are their wake-up call. You are the silence that speaks volumes. The absence that hits harder than any word. The mirror they never wanted to look into. And the next time someone tries to play you, they'll remember. Because you don't chase. You don't beg. You rise. And that's terrifying. To people who thought you'd always stay small, if this message speaks to your soul, if you're done being used, ignored, or underestimated, comment, "I reclaim my power." Because once you do, there's no going back. If you're choosing to live differently, to lead with strength, clarity, and silence that can't be manipulated, hit like, subscribe, and turn on that bell. Not for noise, but for power. Now I want to hear from you. What's one moment you said enough and finally took your power back? Share it in the comments. You never know who you'll inspire. And if you're ready to go deeper, here are 2 next steps on your Stoic path. How to be emotionally dangerous without saying a word. Learn the power of presence that commands a room without ever needing to raise your voice. Why Stoics never explain themselves. Discover how keeping your power means never needing to justify it. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a version of you that no one will dare underestimate again. Let's keep rising quietly, but unmistakably.